What's up, everybody? Welcome to Government Secrets. And we have an exciting episode. And let's get it going. So, everybody, thank you for watching on the CIA Tube, Facebook, and of course, rockfin.com. We're still demonetized, so go to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood and you can tip the show. I'll read those after Government Secrets. I will answer your questions after Government Secrets. Share this out on your social media, hit the like button, do all those fun things. So yeah, say hello to our moderator Kate and let us bring on the show, ladies and gentlemen, from Redacted Tonight, Mr. Lee Camp.
Hey,
what's up, buddy?
I don't know what the noises you're making are, but they're enjoyable.
It's just a random weird noise.
It's one of those days. It's one of those days.
It's a random weird nose day. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Government Secrets, episode 58. I checked.
Trust me on this one.
Trust me, I actually did the research of checking before we did the show. Today's a really special episode because Lee and I are going to apologize for all the negative things we've said about America, and we're just going to start talking about how great it is. That's what he's...
I wish you'd kind of gone over this before we started, because I feel like this should have been a production meeting about this new take on things.
It's a complete 180. Just, you want me to just spring that on you? We're going to call it Government Celebrations is the name of the show.
Secret celebrations.
Secret celebrations of all the great things America's done over the years. That would be a short series. It would be really, it would be, I don't know, how many full episodes of like all the wonderful things America's done? How many do you think we could do?
Hey, we could do one at least. Like, it'd be like World War II. After getting dragged in when we really didn't want to go, we ultimately saved a bunch of people or helped save a bunch of people while Russia lost 27 million people in the fight and we lost 250,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah, 400,000. Yeah. And we're going to also gloss over some of the awful stuff that our GIs did. But we'll just, ultimately, we did the right thing. Ultimately, we did the right thing.
Hey, listen, you can say this for America. After we've exhausted every other option, we do the right thing.
Eventually. And our right thing is still got some shades of gray to it.
After we have absolutely tried every idea that could possibly be thrown out there, we do the right thing.
When we realize, maybe the right thing could make us some money, then we will do it. So yeah, buddy, how's your week been?
My week's been all right. I'm getting ready to aggressively demonetize my YouTube channel because I just did the entire and full truth about Bill Gates. So
oh wow,
on Redacted Tonight. So I think that might be the end.
Good luck, Lee. It was great. This was a great run. It was really well.
As you see the red dot slowly lower onto my face.
Comedian Lee Camp had a tragic accident, shooting himself in the head 3 times, ruling it a suicide.
In the back of the head. The key is the first 2 you got to really be ready for, and then you can get the third one off.
Yeah. You got a quick finger. It keeps going. It makes sense. Yeah, I don't know if you know what happened to Ron Placone. They shut down his GoFundMe yesterday.
No.
And then took away his super chat ability on YouTube.
For what?
Good. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what he talked about. No, not no idea, but I don't know why they did it. He was on yesterday. We did the game show, and he was talking about some of the stuff he had discussed. I think it might have even been sort of, I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was Bill Gates or one of the big tech companies he might have been talking about or something. And they just yanked. He just had a really awful day. They shut everything down yesterday. They got the GoFundMe came back finally. But I
was going to say, like, whenever they do these things in concert, like GoFundMe is supposed to have nothing to do with YouTube.
Right.
So, and they did it with Facebook and Twitter a while back, where they deleted 800 pages and then simultaneously suspended all the editors on Twitter. But these two companies are supposed to be separate. So what are we supposed to believe is going on here?
Just a random set of wacky coincidences, I think, really, right? Isn't that have we learned nothing from doing 58 episodes of this show? It's all wacky coincidences.
It's a lot of wacky coincidences, man.
Every time the CIA does a coup, it's like, whoops, zoinks, we didn't realize we were, trying to do something. We were trying to get school lunch programs going, and then we accidentally started a coup. Oh boy, Gilligan, like.
So they hit his GoFundMe and his YouTube simultaneously. Wow.
Yeah, and but he did get his GoFundMe back for his movie, which is like it's a fictional story about two brothers kind of dealing with the, financial crisis. It's just like, I mean,
I'm highly offended. I'm actually glad they could shut that down.
Yeah, they should. Ron Procon.
Fictional movies about two brothers. I mean,
yeah,
horrific.
I can't have that. No. Written by a guy that likes obscure punk bands. I mean, I can't.
Written by a sweet guy who's into punk bands. Truly offensive. And cats. Don't forget cats.
Oh, he likes cats. He reads too many books. That's the main problem. Ron Placone reads too many books. I think that's why they shut him down, is he just reads too much. And they were like, nope. So yeah, but I am excited to have you on my show to talk about how you've been completely deplatformed after your Bill Gates segment. So
not yet. They've just suppressed me into oblivion. I'm always amazed that they ever take the step of like actually banning people or whatever. It's like, I'm surprised they don't just do to everyone what they've done to me, which is suppress you into oblivion. So you have 4 people watching a video and then they don't need to delete you. And then you don't run around saying I've been deleted. You just have to try and convince people that no, it's not normal for me to have used to get 200,000 views on a video and now I get 4. Like, you just have to run around trying to tell people that.
I mean, looking right now, we're live streaming. We have 119 people watching. You and I usually have in the neighborhood of 400 to 500 people watching the show. So I've noticed the last week, all my streaming numbers have been suppressed. Jordan Sheridan said something to that effect on Status Coup. So they've been doing it, across the board. But, Facebook is in front of Congress because they were literally like targeting children. So what I'm saying is we live in a great place. And
yeah, I mean, we just have to get better with our secret codes that we use, for Bill Gates, we need to say Gil Bates. And I think then it'll be fine. I think we just have to get better at that.
Toyed with the idea of either doing like more sock puppets or like cartoon characters, just like the ruling elites are murdering the world. You got that right.
Well, the voice you do would have to be contorted enough that the closed captioning, the auto closed captioning couldn't understand, and then you wouldn't be suppressed because the bots, the algorithms wouldn't know what you were saying. So it'd have to be pretty, like you have to be pretty crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe if you do it cartoony voice, then maybe the algorithm robot just thinks, oh, it's a cartoon. And then they don't really pick up the words.
Yes. Maybe the robot's like, I'm having fun now. And it'll just stop calculating. Yeah.
Even if you're just like, we need to take out the oligarchs. They'll be like, aha, that's fun.
I mean, that was the theme of most Mr. Rogers episodes, I feel like. With that king there that everyone wanted to kill.
Yeah, they wanted to overthrow King Friday. And just meow, 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 meow. Capitalism kills. Meow, 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 meow. Like Lady Elaine Fairchild was like actually a Black Panther. It was a lot of fun. He actually did some subversive stuff on that show, though.
Talk about sexuality and things like that or something.
He talked about that, and also there was a in the late 60s, early 70s, there was a big thing. There was a public swimming pool that wouldn't allow black people in the pool, and it was a huge civil rights issue.
Hold
And
on,
so
you're saying that's a problem?
No, I'm saying finally someone was trying to keep America great again. And
Graham, I actually have to go. I have to change the signs on my pool. If I'm sorry, this has been fun. I gotta run.
I'm more shocked that you actually have a pool.
That's like the time someone posted on my Facebook page. They were like, Lee Camp, tomorrow morning, look out your window. There will be a burning cross on your lawn. And I reposted on Facebook and I was like, very exciting, folks. By tomorrow morning, I'll have a lawn.
Yeah, I was talking about on Jimmy show the beginning of the year. I said, I'm going to take my stimulus check and buy Bitcoin with it. And then there were some people like, wow, Graham's getting a stimulus check. How is he doing that? Like, how much money do you think I make, dude? They just think like this show is just like, I've priced out of getting a stimulus check. I hate to break it to you. I have not.
I think people think that anyone's name they know must just be rolling in cash.
Right. I think they're like, well, Rogan gets 100 million. So that must mean Jimmy Dore must get 10 and Graham and Lee must get 1 million. Nope. No. Your zeros are way off.
It's kind of like how you can be the 30th best or 40th best tennis player in the world and make like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
in
like
the world. And you're at all the tournaments and people know your name and they assume you're rich and you're like broke.
Yeah. Like I had to fly coach to this thing and I get free rackets from my sponsor, but that's about it. I don't get like a 6-figure endorsement deal.
Yeah.
Nobody cares who number 30 is, what he or she is wearing. Nobody gives a shit. But anyway, I was going to say this about Mr. Rogers. So there was they weren't allowing, some pool was not allowing black people into the pool. So then the mailman, who I'm blanking on his name on the show,
McFeely
was a black man. So he's like, oh, came over, let's talk to mailman McFeely. And he had a little kiddie pool in the backyard. And it's a hot day. And they both took their shoes and socks off and both put their feet in the pool and just talked. And it was Mr. Rogers, like,
and that was considered edgy.
That was considered edgy. That was his defiant, like, we should be able to share a pool, you know,
right.
And it was like, wow, he did that very, I thought it was, I gave him credit because it's very subversive of like just showing kids that there's no problem with this. It's just dumb, racist adults. But so I've got a CIA meddling segment and you have, do you want to do yours first or what's the funnest one?
Let's do yours and we'll see how much time is left for mine. Cause I either have one or two, depending on the amount of time. So we'll figure it out.
Okay. So this, I'm referencing a book. It's about the CIA's role in Africa, mainly Cold War. There's this book by Susan Williams called White Malice. And there's a review of it on the NPR's website. I'm going to bring up the, I'm going to read off of the article.
And the CIA's destruction of Africa only got 1 star.
So here's the book. The book review is on NPR. So, in 1959, the CIA created a dedicated Africa division, according to British researcher Susan Williams. The CIA's brief in Africa was to, by any means imaginable, secure American power across the continent. So what was starting to happen, a lot of African nations were getting sovereignty from European colonizers. And boy, America didn't like that. We can't have
no likey
at all. You cannot rule your own country, especially if you're not white. I mean, that we just can't let happen. We're all for democracy and
representative. Hold on, you mean these people we don't let in the pool are running their own country? It's a mess.
Boo. And of course they use the excuse, and this was part of it too. Like, obviously they were all like, you know, we don't want communism to spread to Africa, but your racist colonialist, like, foundation was a big part of, it. It wasn't just to thwart communism, it was like, and boy, these non-whites can't think for themselves, so they'll really fall for the trick of communism.
Right. The combo of throwing off our American / English / French chains with perhaps picking up communism as their way forward was very problematic in multiple regards for our government, for the CIA, etc.
Well, we've talked about, I mean, this is a recurring theme on this show of a country either has resources that they won't give up, or they start embracing communism or socialism, and then we're like, no, no.
Yeah.
So CIA officers and CIA cash had been present on the continent since the agency's inception 12 years prior. But as more and more African nations gained freedom from European colonial powers, the Cold War paranoid United States grew increasingly concerned with controlling African nuclear material. Oh, see, they did the twin bill of resources we want for war and profit, and trying to govern yourselves with something other than horrific capitalism.
Well, we have to go in there for our security, because if we allow them to govern themselves, that makes us insecure.
Yes.
Because we are white people. We're very insecure. So,
right.
Yeah.
And obviously, clearly white people in power they're evil. So they're just like, well, I want to screw everybody over and rape and pillage. So I assume everybody else thinks that way. So we're just going to, and other societies, as we've talked about on the show, like Columbus would find these like indigenous people that were like nice and loving and giving and egalitarian and shared everything. And we're like, whoa, no. Well, we got to take advantage of them rather than adopt their beautiful,
right,
holistic views of the world and working at one with nature. Ugh, we better murder them and take them, give them some blankets.
But how dare you say it's only white people? We have found on multiple occasions black people to behave as white people. So, if you look at the Obama presidency, I feel like, Graham, that really proved that we can find black people who will basically continue the white empire globally.
Amen. Hear, hear. It really, and so Williams details in the book White Malice, she treats CIA meddling in Ghana and Congo as a lens of neocolonialism across Africa. Basically, that's what this book talks about. The book's intellectual patron saint is Ghanaian Prime Minister Kwame, I can't pronounce his last name, a brilliant pro-Africanist who thought the unity of Africa was the only vision that would secure the autonomy of individual African nations. Oh, there's that other evil word that America can't handle, unity.
Yep. Yep.
We can't have anybody working together. We certainly can't have a whole continent working together. And having their own sovereignty. We certainly couldn't. There's no way we can do that, which is why we've interfered with Africa, Central and South America, Asia, anywhere there's people working together, we're going to crush it.
Yeah, and I may be getting ahead of us, but I love how this is coming from NPR, because they can write these kind of things as long as it's in the 1950s.
Yeah.
But they can't write it for now, where we're still doing the same shit. We're still destroying countries. We're still destroying people. We're still making sure the African continent is under our thumb. We have AFRICOM. We've destroyed countries there recently. And yeah, they can't write about any of that. They won't discuss any of that. But if it's the 1950s, this dirty CIA, look at what they were up to.
It's several things. I mean, there's so many things. They could talk about the fact the whole continent of Africa, the entire continent of Africa has a 2% vaccination rate currently. And they're like screaming, why aren't we getting vaccinated when first world countries are talking about a third, booster shot? And you've got that thing that you brought up, which we've talked about before on the show. It fits more into it fits better into the neoliberal lens that things were bad back in the day, but now the boy back. Remember when the CIA was just gone rogue, and now what? What are they doing now? They're just they're like the Sierra Club. Like, what are they doing? Like
the chains we put on them after the 1960s. Oh man, they don't do anything without us overseeing it nowadays. It's like chains on top of bungee cords, on top of those ball gags. We have just really strapped down the CIA. They are not free at all anymore, and we have shown them. Listen, you're going to answer to us nowadays.
Yes, you're going to answer to us so much so that your budget is off the books, and no one from Congress or anybody can look at it and ask questions about it. That's how.
Yep.
And this is the problem with NPR. Has become such a it's just an arm of the West Wing. It almost feels like that TV show, The West Wing, in terms of just feeding neoliberals what they want to hear. Like, oh, we've done so much back in the old days. It was bad, but today it's better. And the only bad things we have today are because of the Republicans or whatever.
So, I actually have to apologize. For years, I've been saying the mainstream media, including NPR, et cetera, feed you lies and propaganda to support the American empire, the neoliberal agenda, et cetera. And really, I'm wrong. They do that unless it was over 40 years ago. And then you might have a little bit of truth. If you want the truth of the mainstream media, just wait a mere 50 years and you will have the truth.
Yes, you'll get it. You can always just get it 50 years later is when you can get it, which is like, isn't that the foundation of incremental centrism? Is it's always not now, but down the road, there's going to be this mythical day down the road when we can finally get everything. Today's not the day, but down the road, then we'll get, and I can't.
Yep. They're always like, the liberals are always like, what are you doing on Tuesday, 2076? Because we are going to change everything then. If you just put that in your calendar, write it down. You'll forget. Write it down. That day, changing everything.
I can't wait, since we're very close to another election cycle. And when the Democrats lose seats, which they're probably hoping for in the House and the Senate in 2022, then they can have 2 years of, we got to take back the House, the whole take back campaign and all those dumb donate emails that we're going to get because I made the mistake of donating to Bernie Sanders and now I'm on a fucking list for the rest of my goddamn life.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, for some reason I'm on all the lists, even though I haven't donated. So I get emails for Biden. I get emails for Trump. I think some people do it as a way of like pranking you. They just put emails on lists.
That's hilarious. But yeah, I can't wait for the take back. We're running out of, we need your help. No, you don't. I ain't giving you my goddamn help. If you donate money to either one of these two corrupt parties, you are a sucker. And before you do that, why don't you go to liberapay.com/government secrets and support this show before you donate to those shitbirds. So not only did the CIA undermine Pan-African unity, but many African governments' stability in order to obtain control over the continent's non-aligned countries and, crucially, its natural resources. Most of all, the uranium at the Congo's Cincolave mine. So this is really for nukes. We destabilized an entire continent, wouldn't allow it to unify so that we could just get access to make weapons that will destroy all life on Earth. That sounds sane to you, right, Lee? That sounds what normal, sane people do?
I don't follow. You have a problem with it? Yeah, I mean, it's such a standard operating procedure. It's like, oh, we can steal these resources, but also let's make sure to stop their unity as well. You know, and in Afghanistan, for a while, people wanted to just point at the resources and say, oh, we're there for, oil or uranium or whatever. Same with Iraq. But it's not, it's like, that's not the main reason. That's a reason, but it is behind one or two other things on the list, which is making sure that the country or the region can't actually put up any kind of fight against us, can't unify into a strong bloc, can't put up any kind of fight against Israel. And on top of that, make sure to bring them back into our, central banking system. So this is a list of reasons that we destroy these countries. But resources is definitely on that list. So, if we can steal some uranium at the same time, all right.
While keeping them in debt to the central banks and staying on the petrodollar and whatever else we can get them to do. Yeah, this is all it's a win for everybody. Corporate interests work. It's fantastic. So some more specific examples. The Congo's first prime minister. So after they got their freedom from, white European colonial leaders, Patrice Lumumba, a charismatic leftist. There's a mistake. Don't be a leftist. Whose CI director, wait for it, our favorite, Alan Dulles is back. Dulles makes a reappearance. Pew, pew, pew.
CIA bingo card. Mark it down.
Did anybody have Dulles on their CIA bingo? You just won. Characterized per Williams as worse than Castro. So that's our boy Dulles, a leftist, charismatic leader that wanted freedom for his people and was also pro-African. So he was pro-unity for the whole continent. He's worse than Castro.
And at the time, Castro was viewed as just like the worst thing to ever face the U.S. empire, because he had thrown off the capitalist chains. He had, thrown off the American empire out of Cuba. And so he was the arch villain. So to say he's worse than Castro is like, oh, dear God.
And this is the Castro that we know from the 3-part JFK series that you did, referencing the book JFK and the Unspeakable, where they were actually back channeling. Kennedy was trying to back channel peace with Castro, and Castro was down with it.
Yep.
And then, of course, weird. Kennedy got killed by a bullet that defies the laws of physics. Which happens all the time. People hang themselves with paper t-shirts. Bullets do this. It happens all the time. Stop asking questions.
It so does.
Dulles characterized Williams as worse than Castro. American spies and diplomats, blinded by a combination of anti-black prejudice and Cold War hysteria, wrongly pegged Lumumba as a Soviet dupe.
Yeah, isn't it amazing how long they've been doing the he's a Soviet bullshit? Like, it's still going today. We're still, it must be Russian. Bernie or Jill Stein must be Russian. It goes way back. MLK must be Russian.
It's unreal. Like this, this show has really shown that it's the same play. I mean, the playbook they got is about 9 pages long, and they just run it every goddamn time. Like,
there's not a lot of reading involved.
No, just it's amazing. Williams uses declassified archival documents, including meeting transcripts, State Department memos, executive orders, and more, to effectively show that although the CIA covertly channeled money to him during his political ascendance, so they helped get this guy elected. Jesus. U.S. intelligence worked against him from the moment he took office, ultimately conspiring to kill him. Although it remains unknown whether the Congolese secessionists who did murder him were backed or funded by the United States. So there was people that wanted Congo to secede, so they murdered him. And according to this author, not sure, she couldn't find any evidence to specifically link the CIA to those people. But I find it hard to believe they weren't somewhere involved. They didn't at least just go, hey, I think that front gate's going to be open. You guys might want to come by Thursday at 9. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and even if let's, for the sake of argument, say they weren't in contact with the people that killed him, they were so heavily involved in, destabilizing the country and creating a scenario in which taking him out would be a significant move that a lot of people, were working towards. Like, they could have they did lay the groundwork, even if they weren't talking with the people that killed him.
Yeah. I mean, they at the very least they just were like, they did something. I mean, they knew it was going to happen and went, let's not tell his security detail, or you know what I mean? Like, they just were like, they did not, at the very least, they let it happen if they weren't actively. I find it hard to believe they didn't have someone inside the secessionist movement somewhere in there, gave them money, something, like anything, just borrow my car, there's guns in the trunk, do what you want, have a fun weekend, I'm not going to ask questions, or something, like, there's
there
no way.
Might be a little something in the trunk, I'm just saying.
I don't know. I mean, if it were me and I found a high-powered rifle in a trunk, I would make sure I brought a guy that knew how to use it. But I'm just throwing out hypotheticals. You guys do what you want. Just bring
there
it back
might
with a
be
full
a
tank.
map of where Lumumba might be strolling tomorrow afternoon. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying that would be a wild coincidence. So then there is even with the question open, White Malice would be an infinitely stronger, more compelling book. This is a criticism of it. If it told only the story of Lumumba and the CIA. Well, all right, NPR, of course, I don't believe what this. Like, I don't agree with you. This is the one thing with this article is it's then this NPR book reviewers critique of the book. So it doesn't matter. But it does talk about this, the United States hostility to Lumumba. On his first visit to Washington, President Eisenhower blew off their meeting, deploying an advisor to tell the Congolese delegation that he preferred to go and play golf than meet Lumumba.
Well, he knew Lumumba wouldn't be around for long, so why waste time getting to know him,
Yeah. And, you don't want to miss a tea time. That's an important thing when you're a president. The golf pro, you know what I mean? The starter at the country club is going to be like, Mr. President, you were late again for the tea time. Like, we can't have this.
It's very true, because before you know it, sure, the African continent is united, but you are, losing to your friends at golf. Like,
that's what's happening next.
It outweighs the positive.
It really does. It's a cost-benefit analysis. Meanwhile, the CIA funded opposition figures, including Joseph Desiree Mobutu, the military officer who later became the dictator Mobutu Sese Seko. It organized protests against him and planned newspaper articles that undermined popular support for his rule, Williams writes. Before long, the CIA was actively encouraging Congolese politicians to overthrow Lumumba. Jesus. Williams implies that without these clandestine American activities, there would have been no Congolese civil war. Man, we helped the Civil War too. That's so awesome. Whether this subscribes more agency to the CIA than it had, or de-emphasizes other forces' role in Congolese politics at the time is hard to say. Well, this is where the NPR guy's like, gee, I don't know. Maybe the CIA, like this is the NPR guy giving the CIA a pass. Like, I don't know. Still, she effectively proves that American intelligence worked relentlessly to stack the deck, already stacked, of course, by global anti-Black racism and the legacies of Belgian colonialism, against Lumumba's odds of establishing an independent democracy in the Congo. And it goes more into that, but it's really, it looks like an interesting book to read. And again, we could do a whole separate episode on how the United States is currently screwing over the entire continent of Africa and destabilizing governments and everything else for these same resources. And now it's like, we need bases to be close to Iran or whatever. Like there's a lot of resources. And now it's probably not just uranium. I'm sure there's minerals there for cell phone batteries and whatever else that we're trying to get a hold of. And China recognizes this as well, but China's approach is not stick their iron fist up everyone's ass. China is like going to African countries and just saying, we'll build you a port and a stadium and trains just because we want to open up a new market to us. And that's how China does it.
And a recent one that I covered on Redacted tonight is Eritrea is one of the only countries in Africa to say no to AFRICOM, the U.S. American Africa Command, which we're pivoting towards, putting more weapons, more troops, more emphasis on Africa in order to basically fight China for the resources. And Eritrea said no to that, and Ethiopia is showing some alliance with Eritrea, or they're not as at odds as they used to be, and so the U.S. I did an interview with Ann Garrison about how that would probably be where the U.S. would direct much of their belligerence going forward, is these countries in Africa. And sure enough, like a week after I did that interview, Samantha Power announces sanctions. Well, she at least tweeted about it. Sanctions against, I believe it was Eritrea. And, so the U.S. is like, well, let's see if we can economically crush this country because they're getting in the way of our AFRICOM goals.
Yeah. I mean, it's they've got AFRICOM there, and clearly, like you said, it's the U.S. And part of the reason why we were not taking the Chinese approach is because of not only our arrogance, but the racism inherent in this country was founded on genocide and slavery and racism. So this colonial racist view that, I doubt very much China is looking down on Africa. They're just like, oh, here's an emerging market, and we want to, spend money to make them allies. America has to, because it's rooted in white colonial racism, it automatically is subjugation. Like, it's not like, oh, maybe this is let's do business. It's like, nope, military, AFRICOM, destabilize. That's how we approach any non-white country.
Yeah, and China has almost no unilateral sanctions. I don't know
Right.
if it's zero, but it's a very low number. Unilateral sanctions on other countries, which sanctions are war. They're economic war. People die from it. Often tens of thousands can die from economic war. And China has almost none on unilateral sanctions on other countries. We have hundreds. China has almost zero. I think it might be one military base outside of China. We have 900. So you can see the two different tactics that are used in this, these strategies.
Right. And if we were to cut our military budget in half, we would still be spending almost $200 billion more per year than China is.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just preposterous. And when you hear like people and China's going to attack us, why would they attack 330 million customers? Like, all we do is buy Chinese everything. The trillions of dollars in stimulus that Americans have gotten, a lot of that went to China because everything everybody bought is made in China. So we just gave China a couple $1 trillion in buying this last year's worth of stimulus money in, whatever, not VCRs, what am I, 900 years old, and phonographic records and black and white TVs and
one of the
phones.
deals we had with China was we would buy more VCRs, which they were really trying to move some units on that front. So that was a big negotiation point.
So open up your phone books, guys, and go to your VCR salesman page and see what you find there. But
specifically, they're trying to get rid of about 100 million copies, VHS copies of City Slickers. So if they could just...
Which is free with every VCR purchase. You get a free VHS copy of City Slickers. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Everybody just bought a bunch of appliances that are all made in China. So,
right. Well, yeah, anyway. the money that went to Americans during the stimulus went into products made by China and paying rent, so it went to landlords. So really, it was just, the stimulus was just it had like a quick stop off in the average American hand before it went to landlords and China.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was telling people, I was like, take your stimulus check, and if you can afford it, buy Bitcoin with it, because that's the only way you're going to increase your value. All right. Well, that's segment 1, CIA ruining Africa. Beep, beep, beep.
All right. Well, this one's a unique one. I think we just have time for one, but I'll always get to the others. But uh, this one's a unique one because I feel like we haven't really gotten to this area of villainy in our discussions. And this is a consulting firm. And a consulting firm sounds kind of sheepish, like it's not going to cause that much trouble, right? It's a milk toast. It's just a consulting firm, right? How much trouble could a consulting firm cause? So this is a consulting firm called McKinsey and Company. And maybe some people have heard of them before, but I think many have not. This is one of the most powerful consulting firms around the globe. I think in many regards, the most powerful. And they take on massive corporate clients. So basically the companies, corporations that rule America and in many ways rule the world, pay for McKinsey's help in quote unquote consulting. And so what is consulting for a massive corporation? What is it that a company like this does? If it's talking to the corporations that rule our world, rule our government in many, regards. Well, if you look at McKinsey, so they would be hired by, the huge corporations. I don't have the list, and I don't also know how secretive that list is, but I don't have the full list. But some of the biggest companies and corporations in the world have business with McKinsey. And in many ways, they're kind of like a mentor to psychopaths. Like they hold their hand and give them ideas because all of this crazy shit, when you hear that a corporation did something and you're like, that is fucked. Like someone had to come up with that idea. And a lot of the time it's not necessarily the corporation. It could be one of their consultants who said, here's how you make more profit. Here's how you destroy more lives in order to, become bigger, become more powerful. So let's go through some examples of McKinsey controversies over the years.
So just to be clear, McKinsey is basically they're a life coach for psychos.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And McKinsey should be noted that McKinsey sounds like the name of any girl that went to a private girls' school on the East Coast.
Yep. Yes, it does. So if you were to think what's the worst, shittiest corporate scandal going on in the past few years, I feel like a lot of people might say, oh, I don't know, how about the opioid epidemic? Killing 600,000 Americans. I think it's several every day die from this epidemic. Despite the fact that the Sackler family and Purdue Pharmaceutical, the Sackler family is not going to go to prison. They have been found guilty of this. They owe billions of dollars. Purdue is going bankrupt. It's been taken out of their hands. So, we can now say with a lot of certainty that this was done intentionally. It was done knowing what they were doing. The Sacklers understood that the harm they were causing, that people were dying, and they kept telling doctors to keep prescribing these things. They told doctors they weren't addictive. They did everything they could. So here's McKinsey. McKinsey advised opioid makers on how to, quote, turbocharge sales of OxyContin, proposed strategies to, quote, counter the emotional messages from mothers with teenagers who had overdosed on OxyContin, and help opioid makers circumvent regulation. So McKinsey is telling them how to deal with mothers who are suing companies, who are talking publicly about how their kids have died. McKinsey is meeting with them and going, here's how you deal with this. The firm, for example, advised Purdue Pharma to offer pharmacies rebates based on the number of overdoses and addictions they caused. So if a pharmaceutical company or pharmacy causes a bunch of overdoses, don't worry. Keep using our product and we'll give you rebates. In February 2021, McKinsey reached agreements with attorneys general in 49 states, 5 U.S. territories, and the District of Columbia. Across the settlements, the firm agreed to pay nearly $600 million to settle investigations into its role in promoting sales of OxyContin.
This is like the Nazis, like telling Holocaust survivors, we're going to give you like free ice cream. It's horrific. Not only is it got this is so cynical, got these, this is mind-boggling how evil this is, because what they're doing, first of all, when they're saying, when they come up with the pamphlet or whatever, like this is how you talk to moms who kids who OD'd and died. That means they're going full well into the knowledge of, we're going to cause a bunch of addictions and overdose deaths. We know where this product is going to do that. And rather than go, wow, this is evil. Hey, anyone that's ever worked at McKinsey, and if you were aware of this, you're fucking evil and you can't see your reflection in the mirror. And if you're mad that I'm saying this, please, from the bottom of my heart, go fuck yourself. They knew that going in and then went, so rather than, Jesus, this is like this level of insanity and evil, like calculating, sinister of like, we know this evil thing's going to happen. And rather than stop the evil thing, which they could have done, no, here's how we just address it and gaslight people and give them a Band-Aid for this gunshot wound and say, boy, we helped. It's like when BP oil was like, hey, we're paying for the cleanup of the oil spill that destroyed everything. You're not a hero for cleaning up the mess that you created, you fucknut.
You mean failing to clean up, but
failing to clean up. You just did greenwashing ads saying we're doing our part. Oh no, you created the whole thing. So it's
that
not
that one dock got scrubbed pretty well though.
Yeah, that's good. So what if there's still dead dolphins washing up in the Gulf of Mexico? It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people, I think, your average American who's not involved in massive corporate America thinks that, yes, there's awful stuff happening, but it's usually more of a turning a blind eye thing. You know, they think that like with the opioid overdoses, yes, these companies create opioids. They understand people are overdosing, but they kind of try and look the other way while it's happening. This is actively trying to deal with it, like trying to deal with crying mothers who are talking publicly about their kids dying and having meetings and discussions and hiring for God knows how many millions of dollars, hiring a company to effectively stop that bad publicity so they can keep selling these opioids.
Yeah, well, not only that, they effectively said we're going to start an opioid epidemic and profit from it. And here's some of the side effects are like a bunch of people are going to die and we're going to have to deal with some crybaby mothers. So how do we deal with that? They created the fucking opioid epidemic. Like, This is insane to me. I mean, they went, well, here's a market. We could get a bunch of Americans hooked on opioids and we'll lie to doctors to get it out there. And they got a $500 million fine was what Purdue Pharmaceutical had. Now, if you sold 1/1000th of this Oxy illegally, you'd be getting life in prison, Lee. Just you, one guy, if you just sold this.
Right. And there are people in prison right now for selling opioids on the street.
Yes. In prison, life in prison, at least 10, 20 years in prison, intent to distribute. They're given the harshest of penalties. And these Purdue Pharmaceutical guys got a fine, which $500 million to a multi-billion-dollar corporation is like paying $1,000 fine to you and me. That stings a little.
Well, but, yeah, I mean, you're right. The $600 million was McKinsey specifically. Purdue Pharma, I think, has been bankrupted and they paid billions. But again, your point is the same though. They're not going to prison. The Sackler family, whether they lost Purdue Pharma or not, will continue to be some of the richest human beings on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's just try and come up with like some other corporate scandal, maybe like the kind of quintessential corporate scandal that people point to when they go, oh, that was a corporate scandal. How about Enron? Oh. Enron was the creation of Jeff Skilling, a McKinsey consultant of 21 years, who was jailed after Enron reportedly used McKinsey on 20 different projects. And McKinsey consultants had used Enron as their sandbox. McKinsey helped Enron shift from an oil and gas production company into an electric commodities trader, which led to significant growth in profits. According to The Independent, there were no suggestion that McKinsey was complicit in the scandal, but critics say the arrogance of, yeah, right, they weren't complicit. They knew exactly what they were doing. The McKinsey was apparently crucial in making Enron into a Wall Street darling so that Enron executives and everything could make crazy amounts of money. And as it came out, once Enron collapsed, there was just tons of accounting scandal. And, it helped create a collapse of many other, businesses, industries. Pensioners lost everything they ever had because they'd invested in Enron. It was just, a crazy collapse. But McKinsey was pivotal in making Enron the Wall Street darling that it became, and then fucking collapsed massively and spectacularly.
Yeah, I was living in California when Enron was deliberately doing rolling blackouts to us, and there was that famous, and then there was wildfires, of course, in California, and there were some guys on Enron. There's a famous phone call where they're like, "Burn, baby, burn," when that was happening, and Enron was allowed to flourish. And they were out of Texas, and there was a governor of Texas who allowed them to do this, who then became a president. I can't think of his name.
I'm going to go Andrew Jackson.
And it was Andrew Jackson. That is correct. He also owned a baseball team before the sport was invented. It was pretty amazing. Yeah, George W. Bush was a part of that. So, yeah, the Enron guys can go fuck themselves. And of course, one of them came from this filthy McKinsey. Wow.
I have no proof of this, but what's his name? The other Enron executive, Ken Lay. Is that it?
Yeah.
You remember when he was being sentenced, he had a heart attack and died right as he was about to head to jail. And I'm like, if you have that much money, you're totally able to fake your own death. This guy is living fucking in Tahiti somewhere in a hut. Of course.
Yeah. He just here's some pills that just going to make it look like you're going to go into a brief coma for about 12 hours. And when you wake up, you'll be in Tahiti.
So let's do another, you could call this a mid-level corporate scandal. Nothing big, nothing that impacted that many people, but the 2008 financial collapse.
Yay!
Nothing big. McKinsey is said to have played a significant role in the 2008 financial crisis by promoting the securitization of mortgage assets and encouraging the banks to fund their balance sheets with debt, driving up risk, which poisoned the global financial system and precipitated the 2008 credit meltdown. Furthermore, McKinsey advised Allstate Insurance to purposely give low offers to claimants. So basically, the strategy was to make claims so expensive for a homeowner and so time-consuming that lawyers would start refusing to help clients. Next to this, 2016 McKinsey partner Navdeep Arora was convicted for illegally depleting State Farm of over $500,000 over a period of 8 years in collaboration with a State Farm employee. But yeah, so it's quite possible, considering what they did, recommending banks fund their balance sheets with debt. It's quite possible that you wouldn't have had the 2008 collapse without McKinsey.
Boy, they're like the Forrest Gump of evil fucking corporations. They're just at every crossroads in history. Just
they also had sex with Larry Craig, and I think they killed Chandra Levy as well. So
yeah, they sold the Titanic Corporation cheap steel. That's why the Titanic sank. Just everywhere. They let John Wilkes Booth. Yeah, you can just walk up to the president's box. We're good. You're just whatever you want to do.
Yeah. There's a guy with a little McKinsey badge who was just come on through this way, Mr. Booth.
Mr. Booth, right this way. Mr. Booth. Yep. Yeah. That's what they've done. They're just horrible.
Yeah,
Wow.
they really are a little involved in everything. They also have been one of their clients is ICE. You heard of ICE? After it was disclosed that the firm had done more than $20 million in consulting work for the agency, it became a bit of a scandal. But yeah, and here's the thing. It'd be one thing if they were like advising banks how to be ready if there's a collapse, or advising ICE how to treat immigrants better. No, they are literally advising them on the most horrific shit you could imagine. They're telling ICE like how to stack more immigrants in a cage. Like they're coming up with the most dastardly Dr. Evil shit, and then that's what they're getting paid for by whoever they're working for.
Yeah, I think they've also done consulting work for what, Spectre and the League of Shadows, and just what other evil organizations have they helped? Just unreal. We're doing a whole rebranding campaign with ISIS, so it's really going to be effective. And the people working there are probably just like, well, it's a good job. I mean, the money's great. I mean, hey, what are you supposed to do? We're just consult. Like, what lies do the people that work there tell themselves? That they're not involved in global evil. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, and it does go global for those who are curious. They help Saudi Arabia crush dissidents in the wake of the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi dissident and journalist. The New York Times reported that McKinsey had identified the most prominent Saudi dissidents on Twitter, and that the Saudi government subsequently repressed those dissidents and their families. So basically, they're helping Saudi Arabia crush or kill dissidents. They worked for other authoritarian regimes. They paid, New York City paid McKinsey $27 million to reduce prison assaults in Rikers Island, but the violence only grew, and the city eventually abandoned the firm's recommendations.
So they gave bad recommendations to a prison. Oh, God.
But yeah, it's like at every step, it's like if they're consulting with someone, a company, a government, it's to show them how to make the most profit by harming the most people, or how to get out of being caught for some horrific shit that they're doing, how to, malign sobbing mothers because their kids have died of opioid overdoses. Like, it's just the most, like, in the Sherlock stories, Moriarty is a consulting criminal, like helps criminals get away with shit. Like, they're like Moriarty. They're like a corporate Moriarty.
A corporate Moriarty. Oh my God. These guys are worse than any of the others. Like, they're kind of like worse than the CIA in a sense, because they're like, well, hey, this is where the money is. Like, they could be consulting, non-for-profits and governments that want to go green, or they could be doing any of these things. Like, how do we get more of our population to eat healthy, or so anything? It could be consulting on any number of like positive things for society, but instead they are literally at the front door of every evil.
Well, none of that pays as well, Graham.
Well,
yeah,
you got to go to the stock price.
Help us feed our citizens just pays shit, really.
God. And that's how they think.
Yeah.
And that's literally how they think. And wow. I would like to, if I was a billionaire, here's what I would do. Just to see, I would hire them to go, I'm trying to figure out a way to eliminate evil consulting firms and lock up their CEOs. How would you, McKinsey, how would you guys?
What are your recommendations?
What do you recommend? I'll pay you guys top dollar. I'll pay you guys $10 million. If I was a billionaire, I'd be like, I'm going to hire you to figure out how to eliminate your very business. And I want your board of directors. How do I get them in prison? And just see if they'd be like, well, all right, we drew up some plans and here's a PowerPoint.
I think if you offered them enough money, you'd short circuit their system and sparks would come out their ears, I think.
Just, well, the check cleared. I mean, I don't know if I agree with this guy, but hey, the client's first at McKinsey. Just like, I want you and your staff. How do I get you guys to hang yourselves? How do I? And just
How do I
see
get
how they,
you to insert barbed wire into your penises?
Yeah.
Is there, because whatever the cost is, just let me know.
Is there a way that we can incentivize senior management of taking a plugged in toaster into a bathtub? How do we get that done? And just see how far they go. Oh yeah, absolutely. And just like, I'll give you a $10 million retainer today. Just slide a check across the table.
We have a policy here at McKinsey. The customer is always right. So let's solve this problem for you. Yeah.
And there's a bonus if all of senior management kills himself. Well, I can't say no to a bonus. Like,
so I thought I'd save this for the end, but there is a brand new CEO of a very large, important group who is a longtime associate for McKinsey. And she is the new CEO of Wikimedia, Wikipedia's parent company.
oh, that bodes well for us. I mean, this is really, so what's her name?
I was looking it up. Give me 1 second. They're showing, oh, there it is. Yeah, Mariana Iskander. Sorry.
Well, it's good to see I'm glad women breaking the glass ceiling of running horrible corporations and being awful.
Yes.
It's really,
but you know, we've talked about Wikipedia becoming a neoliberal mouthpiece, but this is kind of just another step. I mean, I don't know that it needs to, that Wikipedia needs to go much further. So I don't know how much difference you'll notice with her at the helm, but you know, Wikipedia has and will continue to be kind of the American empire, the Western propaganda, kind of rewriting the history of the world, the current, you know, reality of the world. We've gone through some of them as we sometimes quote from Wikipedia and discuss what they're getting wrong. But you know, it's types of things like in order to post anything on Wikipedia, you have to quote from a legitimate source. And they, you know, a year ago or something, branded something like the Gray Zone a degraded source for no good reason. They give no reason. Their reason is like that without, you know, Gray Zone hasn't retracted anything. Basically, they haven't been wrong enough.
That's how you become a legitimate news source.
It's one of the notes. Yeah. And so Gray Zone is degraded, but meanwhile, you can quote from New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times. All of those are considered big, legitimate sources if you want to write an article or change an article at Wikipedia. That
makes such sense because now, according to their logic, the least trustworthy source is WikiLeaks, which has never been wrong. It's never had to retract one thing ever. So that's the least trustworthy source, according to Wikipedia.
Least trustworthy. Absolutely. That's the bottom of the barrel.
You guys all your material is so sourced and so accurate. You've never had to retract it once. Don't know if I can trust you. That's a fishy guy. I just don't.
And so, you know, for something like, let's say, the Syrian chemical weapons attack, which has been completely debunked, it's been debunked, yes, by the Gray Zone, but it's also been carefully reported on and debunked by famed journalists like Seymour Hersh and John Pilger. But, you know, none of that would be considered legitimate. So, therefore, Syrian chemical weapon attack absolutely happened, according to the New York Times. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've had Tariq Haddad on my show because he lost his job or quit. I forget the Newsweek because he was like, "This isn't right." The OCP, he showed the OCPW reports and all that.
Yeah,
but he wouldn't be allowed. He's not a legitimate source now. Oh God.
Nope. No Tariq.
Well, it's good to know who McKinsey really is now, because I've never thought of I've never even looked at the consulting world and thought of them as anything.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I knew that evil pieces of shit get their ideas from somewhere, but I wasn't really sure where.
If you are an evil piece of shit, just greedy, power hungry psycho, but want to kind of stay in the shadows, boy, does McKinsey got a place for you. It's really, you don't have enough of the narcissism to get the credit for it. You want to do it sort of behind the scenes. You have a job at McKinsey for life.
Damn straight.
So how do you think, what do we got to do to get them as sponsors?
Oh, I thought we were doing this segment because they'd already signed on. Yeah. Next week, McKinsey sponsors. No, that would be a good segue to let people know if they want to support the show, which we have no ads. We have no spoken ads. We have none of that shit. It's at liberapay.com/government secrets. And it's LIBERAPAY. Because it's I think their wordplay there is it's a French company, so Liberté or something. I don't know, but Liberapay.
Yeah, liberapay.com/government secrets. You can support our show. Like you said, we have no ads. It's completely free on all of our platforms. It's not behind any of the paywalls that we have at Rockfin or Patreon or anything like that. So we put this information out there for all of you. So if you can support us at liberapay.com/government secrets, we would appreciate it. Otherwise, we're going to have to go to McKinsey. That's our only choice. Because Boeing and McKinsey, they're itching to write us big checks. They just love having it there.
Yeah. Listen, folks, it's on you. If next week we're talking about how awesome McKinsey is, it's your own fault. You have no one to blame but yourself. Yeah.
Saying the opioid epidemic is fake science. We'll just whatever crazy shit. Well, that sounds like the end of the episode of Government Secrets, episode 58, brought to you by McKinsey. And AFRICOM.
Well, thanks, man. My stuff is at leecamp.com and radindiemedia.com.
Right on, dude. And yeah, go to support all my stuff at grahamelwood.com. I have some little local shows doing here and there. And of course, go to rockfin.com where you can support Lee and myself and everybody that's on that platform. So check that out.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, dude. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
See you soon.
Lee Camp, everybody. God, that show's fun. 340 people watching. That's pretty cool. Hit the like button, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get the likes up to 300. We're 269 likes. Let's get it up to 300, everybody. 300 likes. It's like a crazy DJ. Hello, everybody over at rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. It's free to sign up and you can tip, and I will read your questions right now. Jen Zealback, good to have you on the show. MHC must have changed. Shave your knuckles for justice. Thank you for supporting us at rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. Only unity permitted is the U.S. in the U.S. is unconditionally unifying with the Democratic Party. Of course, it's a good point. Hello. Oops. Annalise Garcia, shave your knuckles for justice. Annalise, of course, you can check out her show. She's at rockfin.com as well. I am so ready for Operation Midnight Climax shirts. That's from episode 57. We talked about Operation Midnight Climax. You got to get on that. The CIA really knows what they're doing. I mean, it's a pandemic. If we can't get down and dirty with some sexy CIA ops, then what's the point of life? Annalise, you're fantastic. That's totally true. We're still in a pandemic. Let's have some CIA, throwdowns with them. Annalise Garcia, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Annalise, thank you for supporting us. Folks, if you go to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood and sign up for the premium, you get access to all my premium content, Annalise's premium content, Lee Camps, Abby Martin, Jimmy Dore, Ron Placone, Kim Iverson, Whitney Webb. The list goes on and on. Everyone, if you're tired of the constant censorship, shadow banning, and corruption of big tech platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, check out panquake.com. I've talked about Panquake several times on this show. I've had Susie Dawson on the show. I'm signed up for it. You should sign up for it. It is literally going to change everything, I think. And just knowing the people that are involved and the work that they put into it, and they just have made their September delivery announcement. So they're really coming along. They've started to beta test it. Go to panquake.com. A revolutionary social media platform that will respect your privacy, never collect or sell your data, and won't censor you. Oh, I'm so excited. So ready for Panquake. Kate, our moderator, show Kate some love. Kate, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. My husband worked on a web project for Walgreens ages ago, and consultants were brought in. The network was acting squirmily, and they found out that one of the consultants was using the fast internet connection to download tons of porn. True story. Consultants equal trash. Nice. Oh, good work. Thanks, consultants. Matt S. Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Matt, thank you so much for supporting our show. With democratic socialism, workers own all means to production. However, they didn't invent the product they are building. They didn't study, do R&D, focus group it, etc. Why do they deserve all of the means to production? Ooh. Well, because they're still doing all the labor. That doesn't mean, that just means they're all part owners in the company, which actually makes a more successful company because the employees care. That doesn't mean that the owners or creators of the product, if you study, they didn't do the R&D, the focus group. Those folks, the owners of the company, still get the profits. They just don't get ridiculous like 100-to-1 profits. They get like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 profits, meaning the owners of the CEOs get 3 times the salary of the regular employee versus 20 or 30 or 50 times like we're currently at today. It's a valid question, but the workers are just part owners in the company, which actually gives the worker more incentive to work hard at their job rather than just show up and punch a time clock and get a paycheck and do just enough to not get fired. That's how that works. That's a great question, though. Because here's the thing. No, they didn't invent the product. They didn't focus group. They didn't do the R&D or any of that. But you can do all that stuff till you're blue in the face. But if you don't have people to physically make the product, it doesn't get made. So that's how valuable the worker is. I can come up with a great idea. I can spend money on R&D and focus groups and all those other things. But if I don't have people to make it, and for me to get really wealthy to become a billionaire, I have to exploit their labor, which is mean paying them well below their value. Workers owning the means of production is just giving them a fair value for their labor and their time. You work 40 hours a week for somebody else's profit, for somebody else's vision. You should own a piece of that company. Or at least get paid a good wage. You shouldn't be paid minimum wage. You should at least be getting $25, $30 an hour, somewhere in there. Right? Jim Garrison. Boom. The new Warren Commission, Graham and Lee. It's a new Warren Commission, Graham and Lee. That's right. Thank you, Jim. Tony DeMayo. Tony, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Thank you for supporting us at rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. My elementary school is McKinsey. I'm pretty sure they aren't evil like McKinsey, which Pete worked for. I don't know, Tony. Maybe you went to an evil consultant middle school. I don't know what you're doing over there. I don't know what the hell is going. I don't know what the hell is going on over there. 301 likes. I love it. You don't have to exploit employees to make money. Just buy a few slaves and you won't have to worry about it ever again. Exactly. Great point. We need some more founding government secret members. That's funny. All right. Oh, what a fun Gov6 and informative. I always learn so much. I learned so much from when I studied. I didn't know the specifics of how we did that in the Congo. And then learning about McKinsey. Good Lord. Good Lord. Matt S. Shaving Knuckles for Justice. So if the workers get more compensation, then are we talking about capitalism light? It sounds like a discussion of monetary compensation, really for the line people. I mean, look, workers owning the means of production, that's socialism. Giving people a fairer wage, yeah, that is still free market capitalism. And a socialist company of workers owning the means of production can operate in a free market economy, but workers should own the means of production. That's the best option, in my opinion. And then the argument is always made, well, if you did that, then your jeans would cost $300. No, the only reason why the jeans would cost $300 is if the CEOs kept their outrageous pay. That's the main issue here. The owners of the company are getting the majority of the profits and the employees are doing the majority of the work. Because again, without the labor, I don't care how good your idea is, how much R&D you did, doesn't matter. It is a discussion of monetary compensation, really, for the line people. Absolutely. Well, here's a great example. So let's talk about Amazon, right? So if Jeff Bezos wanted to, I mean, he could pay all of his employees a good union wage with healthcare benefits and really take care of them. They would not be owning the means of production. No, they would not. That wouldn't be socialism. They would just be getting very well compensated by a guy that can afford to do it. Now, he might not be worth $200 billion or whatever anymore. He'd only be worth, $100 billion or some sad number like that. So would I rather see the Amazon employees all own the company? And that would be much better. But your initial question is, why should they get the right to own the company when they didn't invest in the R&D and the development and the marketing? And my point is they should, because without their labor, nobody gets anything. Matt S. Boom. Yeah, great discussion, man. Dude, you bring up a great point. It's a great discussion. It's a great thing to discuss. I really like it. And the way you frame it, you always come in from a hey, wait, have you considered this? Not a assault. Oh, Graham, you sell out. So those of you, not all, but to those who want to yell and argue and do you see how this is done? It's really cool discussion. Really great thing to bring up and to get into this, the nuances of what we're talking about and the differences between just fair compensation and owning the means of production. Really great discussion. MHC, boom, shaving your knuckles for justice. You're making Gotham great again. Graham, did you see this video about people doing sit-ins at restaurants in New York City to protest vaccine mandates? No, it's insane, but I think it's still good to be aware of things like this. I have not seen this. I don't understand this. I don't understand this at all. I've been vaccinated. In San Francisco, they made us show vaccine cards to get into places. In Honolulu, they've started doing that to get into restaurants. It's fine. It's just that the thing with the anti-vaxxer, like, you don't get everything. You're making a choice. You don't want to get vaccinated. Fine. But, and you want to say you can't force me as an employee to get vaccinated. Okay, that's fine. Then you can quit, right? That's your choice. But I should be allowed to go into this restaurant? No, you shouldn't. Sorry. I want to smoke my cigarettes inside your restaurant. No, you can't do that. That's my right. No. We have an anti-cigarette mandate. Secondhand smoke can give non-smokers lung disease. It's unhealthy. I have chosen to not smoke cigarettes, so I shouldn't have to breathe in your cigarette smoke. A room full of vaccinated people, it is way, way, way less likely for anybody to get and transmit COVID. You bring unvaccinated people in there, the numbers go up. So you don't want to get vaccinated, that's fine. You are now making it easier to transmit COVID. So you don't get to go inside. You don't get to go in all these restaurants. You can order takeout. You can get Grubhub to deliver. You don't get to do everything. You can't smoke cigarettes inside. You don't get to do everything. There's laws to society. I'm sorry. Oh, it's our papers. It's like Nazi Germany. That is such an offensive thing. The Germans were rounding up Jews, gypsies, and homosexuals, and anyone against the state, and putting them in internment camps and killing them. We're trying to quell a pandemic. We've had 678,000 deaths in America, a number that could have been a lot lower. So it's not that is an offensive and a ridiculous claim. Everyone's not a Nazi. Oh, well, you got to show my papers. You have to show your papers are you in your early 20s or even, I was getting carded into my 30s because I've always looked younger than my age. You got to have a driver's license to drive a car. You don't just get to get behind the wheel of a car. You have to take a driver's exam because it's not safe for the public good, the public safety. Everybody has to take a driver's license. Now you're tracking me. Yeah, because we need to know who you are. One of the reasons I'm in favor of undocumented immigrants being a path to citizenship is so that they're documented. Because sometimes if somebody comes in this country illegally and they commit a crime, they can just give any name. Oh, my name is whatever, Steve Johnson. And we don't know who they are. I'm in favor of documenting, past the citizenship, so they're not treated like second-class citizens. And then guess what? We know who they are. We know who everybody is. You know, they can pay taxes, which we need the tax revenue. The DMVs will get a lot of money from that. And we know who everybody is. And now if there's a crime or something, there's a recourse. So you have to have these things in a structured society. No one's forcing you to get the vaccine. You just can't do everything you want to do. You know, I want to bring my own food into this restaurant. No, they're going to say you can't do that. You have to buy our food. You can't bring your own food in here. If you bring it, we're going to ask you to leave. And that's our right as a business to say, you can't come in here. Well, that's my right. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's like people think, they just think their rights, my freedom means I can just do whatever I want. No, not in the construct of a society. You can't do that. I'm sorry, you can't do that. That's not how society works. Oh, I got freedom of speech. People don't even understand freedom of speech. Freedom of speech means I can be critical of the government and not get thrown in jail, but everything isn't protected speech. I've had this discussion. People, oh, Graham, censoring. No, this is my show. You come into my show, I have the right to block anyone that I want. Just like if I owned a comedy club, if this was a live venue and you came in and were loud and unruly, I can kick you out of my fucking comedy club. I can kick you out. Now you have a recourse of trying to take legal action. Oh, you discriminated against me, whatever. But like, Nope, I got witnesses. You were drunk, you were loud, you were an idiot, and I kicked you out of my club. And then you have the right to never come to my club again, give it a bad Yelp review. That's your right. If I violated your personal safety, like my staff beat you up or something, then you have a legal recourse because I don't have the right to physically harm you in my venue. I can ask you to leave politely. If you fight and resist, then I'm going to call the police and they're going to remove you. Do you see how a society is structured? It's like I have freedom of speech to say, I don't like this government. I think Joe Biden is a war criminal. That's freedom. That's protected speech. I don't have the right to say, hey, everybody, go get him. Go kill this person. That's not protected speech. That is inciting a crime. I don't have the right to do that. So you can't just do whatever you want in society. You don't want to get the vaccine. That's your fine. I have a friend of mine not vaccinated, got COVID, was really sick for 10 days. And like a month later is still feeling the effects of it. And I said, are you going to finally get vaccinated? And they said, yes, I am. Because they're like, I want to go do things. And that's the right, it's like, I've seen movie theaters ban bringing small children in at certain times because I paid my money to watch the movies and you've got a crying baby. You're disrupting my movie going. I should be able to bring my baby anywhere. No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. There's other people to consider. If I'm loudly talking on my phone in a movie theater, the theater has the right to go, you're out. Turn your phone off or get the fuck out. I can't smoke inside a movie theater. I can't do that because that disrupts everybody else and it's unhealthy for everybody else. And if what I'm saying bothers you, don't watch my show. I don't want people that aren't critical thinkers, and B, how do we construct a society if everybody just does whatever the fuck they want? Yeah, but this doctor said the vaccine is, okay. One doctor, one study. We're going to get into that thing again. Whatever, man. How many other prescription drugs do you take? Because I rarely take any prescription drugs, ever, rarely. I believe the human body should fix itself. And I think the big pharmaceutical companies, go against holistic medicine. If there was a holistic cure for COVID, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. I don't see the evidence and data for it yet. And if you have evidence that the big pharmaceuticals are suppressing that, I'm all for it. I'm all for more data and more evidence. But there's government mandates every day in our life. Every day. Every day. Every single building in America has to have fire extinguishers, fire exits clearly marked, fire alarms, smoke detectors. Any building that the office buildings, schools, movie theaters, restaurants has to have those things. It's for our public good. Has to have fire extinguishers. Are those things 100% effective? If every building had a fire extinguisher and a smoke alarm and everything, would that prevent fires from happening and prevent people from dying? Not 100%. Those aren't 100% effective. They're not 100% effective, right? But they bring the numbers down. Viruses look for hosts. The more people that are vaccinated, the harder it is for the virus to mutate. If there's unvaccinated people, they make it easier for right? Well, what about Israel, Graham? What about Israel? Right next door to Israel is an open air prison that they run called Palestine, called the Gaza Strip. Palestinians only have a 14% vaccination rate. So Israel and Palestine right next to each other. Israel is deliberately not vaccinating the Palestinians. Israelis, especially the military, are interacting in Palestine all the time. Some Palestinians coming back and forth into Israel to work. So now you have a highly unvaccinated population interacting with a vaccinated population. Well, you're going to have more breakthrough cases. If Palestinians had an 80% vaccination rate, this wouldn't be happening. The entire continent of Africa has a 2% vaccine rate. They would kill to have vaccine mandates at restaurants because then they could go back to not dying on a regular basis. I hope you live somewhere where the hospitals all the hospitals have been overrun the last 6 weeks with unvaccinated COVID patients. Now, some of those numbers are starting to come down, and that's a good thing. But if a hospital bed's filled with unvaccinated COVID patients and you have a heart attack, stroke, gallbladder, appendicitis, any of these minor things that, or some are major, but car accident, but even a minor thing like gallstones or your appendix burst, which are fairly treatable, but there's people that have died recently because they didn't have access to a surgeon. So you got to have rules to a society, guys. If you watch the show and think all of my criticisms of the government mean I don't want laws and rules in society, you don't understand me at all. And you made assumptions that were incorrect. The big pharmaceutical companies are not giving the vaccine to poor countries because they can't profit from it. That is a thing to be very critical of the big pharmaceutical companies for. That doesn't mean the vaccine is bad or wrong or fake. Have they put medicines out there that aren't tested and there's bad side effects and they just push it through for money? Absolutely. That doesn't mean all vaccines are bad. Any of these people that are like, I'm not taking the vaccine, ask them, have they ever taken any other pharmaceutical drugs? Because at some point you had to just trust your doctor, right? There's no way anytime a doctor prescribes something, you went, wait a minute, I'm going to do all this research. I'm going to read all the side effects in that booklet they hand you that folds into 1,000 pieces with a real fine print. I'm going to read all of that. I'm going to go online and read all this research before I put that into my body. No, you just trusted your doctor. I just want this fucking pandemic to be over. I just want to go back to work. This notion that we have to pick a stupid team, I'm either team ivermectin or team vaccine, is the dumbest thing. And it just shows you how dumb Americans are. We've all been programmed to pick a fucking team. Red state, blue state, Fox News, MSNBC, Dodgers, Giants, Yankees, Red Sox, Packers, Bears. If that's how you want to operate, then this is not the show for you. Please don't come here if I can't handle critical thinking. I don't want you here. I don't want you as fans. I don't want you. I want critical thinkers. Yeah. Kate, these restaurant store demonstrations where the protesters are yelling and pushing around hourly service workers with no power is pathetic. Yeah, exactly. So they're taking it out on service workers. I don't like these vaccine mandates, so I'm going to push around some waiter, somebody at a Starbucks or something. You're an asshole if you're doing that. You're a selfish dick, which is what most anti-vaccinated people are, selfish assholes. They don't care about the greater good. I got vaccinated because I'm a Red Cross volunteer and I like helping people. And if I want to continue to help people, so I'm going to get vaccinated. I'm healthy. I have no pre-existing conditions. I'm like, they've done studies now that are starting to come out where vegans and vegetarians have a lesser reaction to getting to COVID. Like they're less likely to get hospitalized, less likely to have severe symptoms. I'm healthy. Maybe I never needed the vaccine. I don't know, but I got it because I'm a Red Cross volunteer, because I believe we need to help out. I'm in a position physically, mentally, financially, to where I can volunteer my time when people are going through a disaster, their home burns down. The Red Cross, the number one thing they respond to is single family fires. And those aren't on the news typically. There's no big fundraisers with celebrities when just somebody's home burns to the ground and they had $500 under their mattress and it's gone and they got nothing. The Red Cross shows up and help. So I want to keep doing that. I've been doing it for 20 years. And in order for me to do that, I had to have a vaccine. The last time I'd been shot with an injection was probably 15 years ago. The last time I took a prescription drug, I don't know, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm just so sick of this selfish bullshit, man. You don't want to participate in society? That's fine. You don't get everything then. It's like the parents that I want to homeschool. Okay, that's fine. That's your right. You get to homeschool. But then you don't get to use all the facilities at the school. Now, you can make an argument, well, wait a minute, I'm paying taxes, so I should get to use that. That's a fair argument, and that's a discussion and debate and even maybe a legal thing to have with the city. But you're going to, I made a choice to drive an electric car. Well, there's not charging stations on every street corner like there are gas stations. So I made that. I hope they build more, and there's more. And there's apparently there's money in these infrastructure bills that they're going to give to every state for more charging infrastructure. That's great. But I made a choice. I know it's not easy all the time. I made that choice. I made a choice to go on the road in the middle of this. I go on the road all the time. Let me tell you, I hate to break it to you. When you're driving on freeways, even just in California, it's hard to be like gluten-free and vegan. It is fucking hard, man. I made that choice. I know the country I'm living in. And my choice doesn't hurt other people. Walking around unvaccinated, spreading a virus, you mean you could be giving it to somebody that's at risk. How many other people were put at risk by you just not wanting to do that? I don't want to wear a mask. You're putting other people at risk. Oh, we'll do herd immunity. Herd immunity? Herd immunity. We just didn't treat this. We didn't use vaccines. We didn't use social distancing. That would mean millions of people would die. That's what herd immunity does. We're just going to let the weakest people die. Oh, cool. Thanks, Grandma. You're dead. Hey, Jimmy Dore with pre-existing health conditions. You're dead. Anybody dead? We're just going to let them die. We're just going to let 2-3 million people die. And then we go, oh, we did it. And our whole hospital will be overrun, way even worse than they are now. So now more people will die, not because they had COVID, just because there's no bed space. So we're going to go yell at some waiter at a restaurant who's just doing their job? Oh, that makes sense. That's not misdirected anger. Yes, Graham. I worked in bars as a bouncer for years. Freaking rookies used to love to get the nod from a bartender performer. So many are so inconsiderate today. I know. Vincent Sandoval, Shaving Knuckles for Justice. Graham, do you know the author Charles Bowden? He lived in Tucson and did an interview on the coming water crisis. Yeah, I know. We got a fucking water crisis. We have climate collapse, and you bitches are arguing about goddamn a vaccine, showing a vaccine card. It's papers, please. No, it's not. It's showing just like you show your ID or your library card or anything else. You get on a plane, you got to show a passport. Like, what's society? Just nothing, no DMV, no rules, no nothing, no driver's license, no. We'll just let 6-year-olds come into a bar and drink. Is that what we're going to do? Oh, too many rules. You can't tell me how to raise my kids. Fucking stupid. Yeah, there's a water crisis coming. Like, let's deal with the fact that the climate is collapsing and we're on borrowed time as the human race. Nah, let's argue about masks and vaccine mandates. Let's argue about that. That makes sense. The coming water crisis in 2002 and our addiction to consumerism. You would love it. On the CIA tube under Charles Bowden interview. It's about 22 minutes. Don't let the robots win. Don't let the clown world get you down. Thank you, Vincent. Tucson. I love Tucson. I went to college at University of Arizona. Bear down, brother. Bear down. Yeah. Anticipate civil unrest with the water crisis. I know. It's crazy. Graham, why don't you get dozens of comedians and performers together to collectively buy up all those closing clubs that Save Our Stage is all about, and create a socialist model? That'd be awesome. I don't have that much money. But yeah, some of the rich ones, the richer comics that are making. Yeah. $320 likes. All right, folks. Been talking for an hour 40. I'm going to go sing some karaoke over at rockfin.com. I can't do it on the CIA tube because I'll go to CIA strike. And if you just tuned in, we already finished Government Secrets, but it'll be available. You can go back and watch it on YouTube, on Patreon, on Rockfin. It's all there. All right. So, oh, that's great, Annabelle. All right, so I'm going to go over to rockfin.com. We'll do a little karaoke over there. Everybody on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Go over to rockfin.com/Graham Mode. It is free to sign up. So check that out. All right. YouTubers, shave your knuckles for justice. Shave your knuckles for justice. See you on Rockfin.